Hey, church, this is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for some more time in God's Word. Our call out today goes to Dan Tanner, one of our subscribers and listeners from Graham, Washington. Dan is a retired village missionary. So to Dan and all those other retired pastors and missionaries out there still doing missionary work today, thank you so much. To me, you are modern day heroes of the faith. So thank you so much for your service to the kingdom. Today I'm going to be reading Nehemiah chapter 11, verses 1 through 2. It reads, "Now the leaders of the people lived in Jerusalem, and the rest of the people cast lots to bring 1 out of 10 to live in Jerusalem, the holy city, while 9 out of 10 remained in other towns. And the people blessed all the men who willingly offered to live in Jerusalem." So church, I really like this moment, especially the start of chapter 11 right here. It emphasizes something about Nehemiah's leadership that takes his mission to a whole new level. We discover his vision was bigger than just rebuilding that wall. He was also concerned about the continuity of the people and their community. What Nehemiah does is everything a great governor should do. First, he secures the border. Second, he establishes security. Third, he establishes the law. How about all that? I mean, it's just interesting things, right? Number 4, he invites community agreement. Number 5, he moves people back into the city to strengthen spiritual life, commerce, and the continuity of the people of God. Now, we finally see how spiritual and political values intersect. They always do. You know, some people believe that political policies and religious beliefs are two separate matters. They are not. At some point, they join, they intersect. And as a believing being, my spiritual beliefs are inextricably tied to how I live and govern my life. But not just my life. They should affect how I govern my family, how we govern the church, and how we govern in our community. So in this chapter, Nehemiah makes a strategic move. He encouraged people to move back into the city to create social, spiritual, and economic stability. Some volunteered, and some were drawn by lot. The goal was to persuade 1 out of 10, so 10%. So here's the application. At some point, our spiritual beliefs must affect how we govern ourselves. But this should also impact our families and our communities. In other words, our religious beliefs should always affect our political actions. When we cross this divide, it requires a little more sacrifice on our part. But if you are a believer today who thinks that religious belief and political actions are two separate matters, I want you to know you are dead wrong. They never are. They eventually intersect. This is why we have inspiring stories in the Bible about great biblical heroes like Moses and David and Daniel and Samuel and Paul and Timothy and the like, right? We remember these men for how their bold beliefs collided with the culture. And your beliefs should as well. And do you know what is needed to make this happen? 2 things. Public confession and courageous action combined together. You know, for too long I have watched comfort, individualism, self-preservation, and shame silence our call, a believer's call, to public confession and courageous action. Many believers would prefer to be silent, separate themselves from the tension, maintain the status quo, then confess their faith and act in faith. But right in this moment, Nehemiah challenged the people to think differently. He invited them to consider this question, and it's a big one. Are you going to live quietly on the outskirts, playing to the status quo, living in self-preservation, or will you dare to choose to declare publicly to the Persians and your ancestors that you believe so much in your God that you're willing to move your family back into the walls of the city for the well-being of all? Big question, right? Do you see what Nehemiah is doing here? He is saying, I made a bold move for God, but that's not enough. We, as a community, have to make a bold move together. So, fellas, what bold move do you need to make today? What public confession and courageous action do you need to take? And once you decide, don't wait too long, or you won't do it. I love you guys. I pray this has blessed you. If it has, well, do something about it, and I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.